Hey everyone, 皆様こんにちは。僕のチャンネルへようこそ. Today I'm here to talk about La Commune, Paris 1871, from the year 2000 by Peter Watkins. This is unquestionably one of the most daringly experimental films on my top 1000, and to prove it, let me try my best to explain the structure and how it plays out. So, this movie is essentially a reenactment of the Paris Commune, which I had no idea about before watching this, where Paris became a commune separate from the rest of France, which lasted only for a couple months. Pretty straightforward so far, but the main twist to the story is that this is a what if scenario if television were around back then. A lot of the story is presented as if it were a television broadcast, through the eyes of a TV camera with two journalists conducting interviews. The station is called Commune TV, and we also see TV programs from another station, Versailles TV, the French government station which opposes the Commune from the outside. As if that wasn't enough, this movie was shot entirely in an abandoned factory, with the cast made up of mostly non professionals, including many illegal immigrants. Anyway, starting with the lengthy opening shot, the movie acknowledges its own production at many points, including extended cast interviews where they detail the filming process, what they've learned about the commune and its people, and their own opinions on the current state of France. And finally, the movie has a large amount of title cards that quite regularly interrupt the action to give historical context, detail behind the scenes information, and even talk about some modern issues. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to say, but the movie's almost 6 hours long. There's that too. That's the general outline of the movie, but how does it hold up as a viewing experience? Well, I've seen several movies that approach and exceed the 6 hour mark, and they're all incredibly immersive in a way that movies of normal length simply can't be because of all the time you spend in their worlds. This one, though, feels different from pretty much any other epically sized movie because of the single location, this abandoned factory where all the action happens. Even though this is supposed to take place on the streets of Paris, we never for a second get the sense that any of this is shot outside, or that any of this happens in anywhere other than this factory, although the excellent sound design gives a great sense of crowd noise. The only two times we leave the action are when we see Versailles TV, and when we cut to a side story involving a bourgeois older woman who refuses to leave her home amidst the chaos. But even then, I wouldn't be surprised if these were shot in a separate part of the same factory. The movie makes no attempt to hide its shooting location. From the opening shot that gives us a literal tour of the set shortly after filming was completed, to the fact that near the end, as the citizens of the commune are fighting at the barricades, it's clear that they're just aiming at the factory walls. This gives an incredible sense of the viewer being almost a participant in the movie, almost like we've got the inside scoop. This might be too distancing for some, but I enjoy the documentary feeling that only gets stronger as the movie goes on. The interesting thing is that for most of the first half, the film does manage to feel dramatic in a non distancing way. Most of it is through the Commune TV broadcast, so the story is told through interviews, staged very well. We experience the formation and early days of the Commune through the direct thoughts of many individuals of varying opinions, a genius feat of exposition not really found in other non documentaries that I can think of. I love the fact that people in the middle of making history are being interviewed about doing just that in real time. This strategy happens throughout the film, but is concentrated the most and sustained the most effectively in the first half, making it hard to argue that it's not the strongest section of the movie. It's a fascinating blend of movie and history lesson. If the first part is history lesson, then the second part is more a history discussion. A large amount of the scenes here are meeting like gatherings of people expressing their opinions on what's best for the commune and its current progress. It's also here that the actors start to break character and talk about modern day France. Sometimes it's even hard to tell which is which. The filmmaking process and the actors' methods get brought to the fore in the second half, which is where the distancing comes in. Between this and the fact that the editing jumps around a lot more between these, Versailles TV, the increased number of title cards, and so on, the movie frequently bears very little resemblance to a movie at all. Maybe the wildest example of this strange distancing effect is during the climactic barricade fight at the end, where the interviewer will start asking questions to the citizens about them fighting the Versailles troops, but will suddenly start asking about if they would fight today if a similar situation occurred. The character switches back to the actor and seamlessly answers, and it's almost as if we're experiencing two different time periods at the same time: 1871 in the background and 1999 with the actor in the foreground. And in a way, this scene kind of exemplifies perhaps the biggest point of the movie, which is to not only depict the commune, but to tie it in with the present. Obviously, the whole framing device of the television stations and the presence of modern media does this to a large degree, but just as important is a simultaneous insight into the filming and acting process as the film goes along, making us constantly consider the present. Often when learning history, it might be difficult to get the sense that people in the past were people just like you and me living today, but this movie gives that sense through these experimental methods better than any other, I think. As for my favorite moments, I've already mentioned the first shot of the movie, which is so bold I can't help but love it, but I've already talked about it. After the shot, we watch interviews of various characters, concluding with one in a house of a family, but it's interrupted when they hear commotion outside and go to investigate, transitioning into the main meat of the movie. We then get a title screen explaining what we're about to watch. This perfectly sets the tone for a movie with constantly shifting forms and metatextuality. There's also the scene where Commune TV is born. In order to counter the Versailles TV propaganda, the two journalists decide to do something. They magically find microphones, and a camera crew, I guess, and start asking questions. Of course, it's too convenient of a setup, but I love the do it yourself spirit of it. I also love the scene where the reporter for Versailles TV infiltrates the commune to investigate, but he's discovered and told off by the citizens for spreading lies. He's then forced into a house to see the conditions in which they live firsthand. You can really feel the anger against dishonest media in this scene, and it's satisfying to see this racist guy getting at least a bit of comeuppance. But in the end, what I love about La Commune in Paris 1871 is its boldness and richness, being so many different things at once: part movie, part documentary, part behind the scenes, part lecture, part sci fi, and so on. Sometimes when people ask me what a particular movie is about, and I find that I really can't explain it in a short period of time, I realize that it's truly something special, and this is one of the most difficult movies to explain for me, and believe me, I've tried. It's one of my 1,000 favorite movies. Thanks for watching my video. Goshou makoto ni arigatou gozaimasu. Have you seen La Commune Paris 1871? Please let me know what you think in the comments. I think of all my favorite movies as friends, and I think of my audience as friends too.